got it?
Most of it.
Holy shit! Hold on, that's not gonna come down here, is it?
No, that is. Yeah, over that car right now.
Holy shit!
黑东东在，这哪儿的现在这个样子啊？
Dozens of tornadoes hit Alabama, Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina on Sunday. Hundreds of homes and businesses were leveled.
From Beauregard, Alabama, the center of a tornado disaster zone stretching across 4 states tonight. At least 40 tornadoes reported, leaving an enormous trail of death and destruction. In fact, here in this community alone, at least 23 dead. In fact, the sheriff here telling me today entire families were killed in their homes together. You can see behind me here tonight, this just 6 years old.
Oh, dude, that's a big tornado.
The catastrophic winds tore through entire blocks of Lee County, Alabama.
Oh my God.
At speeds as high as 170 miles an hour. Drone footage revealed flattened forests, tangled with homes, cars, and power lines. Sirens gave this community of 10,000 an 8 to 10 minute warning to seek shelter. Insulation from destroyed homes clung eerily to tree after tree. In Beauregard, Alabama, the storm tore this cell tower from its base, making communication difficult.
In nearby Smith Station, a popular bar was gutted to the studs. The owner was sitting in his truck just feet away.
I seen the trash swirling in the air across the hill over there, and I said, oh no, this ain't good.
Just across the street, Charlie Patel was inside as his gas station was torn to pieces.
Just I'm on the counter, and 10 seconds in the tornado come and everything is gone, everything destroyed.
Alabama wasn't the only state to see some serious storms. There were more than a dozen reports of tornadoes in Georgia. This is drone video of Talbotton, where homes were left in piles of wood and cars were tossed. Folks in nearby Ellerslie say everything was gone before they even knew what happened.
Everything that's been built for 19 years.
Gone.
In a blink of an eye.
To give you a sense of the loss of life here, all last year, tornadoes killed 10 people across the country. Yesterday, tornadoes killed more than twice as many people in this one Alabama county.
The Afghan military flying over flooded Kandahar province on a mission to rescue 1,000 people trapped by floods. There's been heavy rain in Afghanistan and southern Pakistan for more than a week. On Saturday, flash floods swept through towns and villages across the region.
A disaster took place in Kandahar, so there's no drainage and there is little public awareness, which is why so many people were affected. Most of the affected people were already internally displaced and living on the riverbanks, so they were hit harder than the others.
The traditional homes, constructed from mud and clay, stood little chance as the floodwaters surged through.
I'm a poor man. The walls of my house have been damaged. My 2 children were injured. I'm asking the government to help me by providing tents.
Now we're distributing emergency aid. On the advice of the governor, we made a list of 397 families. Of that, 250 families had their homes fully destroyed.
The UN is sending teams and setting up shelters to help the displaced.
I think another issue that we're dealing with is accessibility. In some of the more rural areas that we're only just getting to, people are quite cut off, they are quite vulnerable, so obviously an event like this has a bigger impact on them.
The destruction extends from Kandahar through 6 different provinces to Herat and Farah in the west. More than 500 homes have been damaged or destroyed, as well as schools, mosques and bridges. In Pakistan, the southern province of Baluchistan has been hardest hit. The military rescued hundreds of families stranded by floodwaters. Relief camps have been set up for those at higher altitudes dealing with heavy snow. Back in Afghanistan, most people were hurt as their homes collapsed around them. Others were swept away in the waters. In Kandahar, those who could travel made their way from faraway districts to Muas Hospital. Those who couldn't waited as half a dozen medical teams tried to reach flood-hit areas.
Many people remain missing, and in such remote areas of Afghanistan and Pakistan, it is going to take some time to assess how many lives and possessions have been lost.
And good afternoon. People in central Alberta were shaken by a 4.6 magnitude earthquake this morning.
Natural Resources Canada says the quake's epicenter was just south of Red Deer. It was felt by residents in surrounding communities. Kendra Slagowski is in Sylvan Lake with more.
This beach town is pretty quiet in the winter, so this was an early morning wake-up call people living here just didn't expect to get. It was just before 6 o'clock this morning when people reported hearing a loud bang, like a car ramming into a pole or even hitting a house. Alta Link says power went out in Sylvan Lake because of problems with their transformers just west of Red Deer. Some areas were without power for about an hour and a half this morning, but by 7:30 it was restored. But for those living here, an earthquake in the middle of winter is still a shock.
All of a sudden there was a big shudder of the house, and my bed shuddered even more, it just had a big jump to it. And because of my past experience of living in Victoria, I knew immediately that it was an earthquake.
My older son was just getting up for work, so I woke up to it. It was quite the shake, and I said, "Did you just hear that?" And he said, "Yeah, it felt like an earthquake."
Felt like the house fell off the foundation.
Many people in Red Deer said they saw their doors rattling, and we also heard from people living in Rimbey, Lacombe, waking up to that loud bang. Definitely the talk of the town here.
"53 kilos for each person on the planet. That's how much plastic was produced in 2016. In a report, WWF says almost half of all plastic is made for throwaway products, mostly used in richer countries. They say this disposable convenience is, for nature, a scourge. Only 20% of the planet's plastic waste is currently collected for recycling, and even less than that is actually recycled. 1/3 of all plastic waste generated becomes land or marine pollution.
We're turning our world into a trash can full of plastic, and we have to live in it. We're starting to see the negative impact of this, including for our own health. We ingest things like fish, which are themselves contaminated by microplastics.
In the sea, hundreds of species are harmed by being entangled or swallowing plastic. Humans are also highly likely to ingest small particles of plastic, though the health impact of this is unknown. WWF has launched a petition urging countries to agree to a legally binding treaty to stop plastic pollution. They're hoping to encourage governments to begin negotiations at a UN meeting in Kenya next week.
Cleaning up Indonesia's most polluted river is a huge undertaking. Even the military is involved. Machines have been brought in to bury the tons of rubbish fished out from the Citarum. It's been a year since the government launched a program to clean up the river. But one military commander tells us progress has been slow, with an action plan only put in place recently.
Jadi 4.600 tuh. We were supposed to have 4,600 military personnel working on this last year, but we only had 1,600. This year, because of a lack of funds, there are only 400 of us involved. Thankfully, the villagers see the benefits of this program, so they've been helping us.
The Citarum River flows through northwest Java and provides 80% of the water supply for the capital, Jakarta. This photo, taken in January by a local environmental group, shows untreated waste from a textile factory dumped directly into the river. Runoffs from farms upstream also contribute to the contamination. a government agency that routinely tests the quality of water in the Citarum, says it went from bad to worse last year. The slow progress is even more apparent in other areas.
This looks like a landfill, but it's really part of the Citarum River. The surface is completely covered with all kinds of rubbish, plastic bags, bottles. But here you get a sense of the scale of the problem and just how massive the cleanup effort is.
The plan to rehabilitate the river isn't only about improving water quality. Floating garbage clogs up drainage. The river frequently overflows during the rainy season. People in the village of Ciputat have had to endure floods year after year.
Ini sampah. Ini yang kami setiap hari kami terima ini kalau banjir.
Look at this. This happens every time it floods. Our streets and homes get covered in mud and trash. I worry not for myself, but for my children and grandchildren.
The newly appointed governor of West Java, Indonesia's most populous province, has been tasked to lead the cleanup.
We're making much progress, more than the perception. Within 5 years to 7 years, given from the decree, we will show the world from the dirtiest river we can become one of the most livable river in the world.
To make good on his word, he'll have to ensure not only that the river is cleaned up, but that the laws that punish those who pollute the river are enforced.
The Russian River is overflowing, forcing thousands from their homes in Northern California, and it is still on the rise. Floodwaters carried away cars in the resort town of Guerneville, north of San Francisco. Hundreds of people remain trapped, while National Guard trucks are taking others to safety. Our Meg Oliver's in Forestville, California, in an area cut off by the flooding.
The only way in and out of Guerneville is by kayak or canoe. The small town was inundated after the Russian River overflowed its banks. Floodwaters surrounded homes, submerged cars, and trapped anyone who didn't leave.
Normally we park right here.
This is where you park?
Yeah, it's a road.
Laura Duplessis' house is raised, but her basement and yard are completely underwater. Have you ever seen anything like this?
No.
More than 24 towns along a 25-mile stretch of the river were evacuated. Along with Guerneville, Monte Rio is also essentially an island, and nearly 100 roads in Sonoma County are closed. An area weather station recorded more than 20 inches of rain over the past 3 days.
We're safe.
In Guerneville, at least 2,000 people are stranded. The water came up to the roof of this RV, forcing crews to reach this man by boat. One of at least 40 rescues in Sonoma County on Wednesday.
Never have I seen it like this. It's scary.
But emergency crews are prioritizing people who are in immediate danger.
We're not going to be rescuing people unless there's an imminent life safety threat. So people are just going to have to be patient.
Rachel Vasquez didn't think the floodwaters would reach her home. Now she's waiting out the disaster with her 4 kids.
Do you have enough supplies?
I think we're, hopefully going to be okay.
You can see where the water reached on this fence. It is going down. Sonoma County has urged California's governor to declare a state of emergency as the water continues to recede, because more rain is expected here later this week.
Fears they're going to be strengthened by record high temperatures and strong winds over the next few days. More than 65 square kilometers of land has been torched so far, most of it in Bunyip State Park. At least 850 firefighters and volunteers are battling the flames, but their efforts have been hindered by difficult terrain as well as spot fires.
Meantime, thousands of residents have gathered treasured belongings and fled the bushfire's destructive path. As Sam Cucciaro reports, the mass evacuation was hindered by the closure of the Princes Freeway.
As the wall of flames raced towards homes, many residents weren't taking any chances.
Huge, it's frightening, it's a monster, it's ravenous.
Thousands scrambled to get out of town, filling their cars and packing evacuation centres.
We took our horses and our dogs and cats and children and got most of us out, but we've left some livestock behind, so and obviously we've left our property behind.
There was ash all over my driveway, so it got a bit scary, yeah.
Others deciding to stay put, unfazed by the unfolding emergency.
We're wetting it all at the moment, and you can see all the water on the ground there.
wetting everywhere we can.
In the town of Labatouche, residents were ordered to bunker down, told it was too late to leave. As some tried to flee, roads became dangerously clogged, made worse by the closure of the Princess Freeway, which could remain shut for several days.
It becomes less about personal effects and more about preservation of myself and my family.
Gambaya World became a virtual ghost town as animals were rushed from the grounds. Elsewhere, tensions ran high at resident meetings, with one woman at Pakenham blaming council for not letting her clear her land.
Now I'm going to lose a house and everything else because of you people that I'm paying rates for.
Here in Bunyip, the local footy club has generously thrown open its doors to anyone needing shelter. Many of the locals here and those in the other relief centres now face an anxious wait to see whether their homes are still standing.
We don't know if we're burnt out. We don't know. We've got no idea. No one inside knows whether they've got a home to go to.
Oh, well, goes up, it goes up.